Hello, it's Ben, and I've got a quick little project. I'm going to make a shelf so that I can take this Bluetooth speaker that I use with my phone to play some music and put it on top of a cheap camera stand so I can listen to it in the yard. It seems like I'm always moving around and I'm always trying to rearrange this and it's falling on the ground. So let's try it out. Well, that's my extremely cheap camera stand right there. Not much to it at all. But the most important thing is that I think it's going to get high enough off the ground that it's easy for me to hear it and get to it. It's right at eye level. So I'm going to make everything out of scraps. And here's a piece of scrap 3/4 inch sandy ply that was left over from another project. I think a bookcase. And I've got a couple pieces of 1x4 that I ended up cutting down for something else. And this is the scrap that's left over. And I think I'm just going to make a quick edge to it. So the first thing to do is to shrink it down to the right size. So with the speaker and the phone on it, it almost makes a square. So I'll cut this into the shape of a square, and I only need it wide enough for the speaker, so I can probably take about a 1/2 inch off of it. So I'll just eagle eye this and cut 1/2 inch off, and then I'll use a square to make sure that it's at a 90 degree before I make my second cut. And then that should make sure that I've got a nice square. So my scrap piece of sandy ply probably has 2 coats of polyurethane on it, and I'll need to sand it off along the edges before I glue down the trim pieces. I've got my wood glue applicator filled up with tight bond exterior wood glue, and I'll use that along with several brad nails to hold it in place so that way I can keep working with it instead of clamping it and letting the glue dry. So after I've got this side done, I'll glue and nail the other side. Then I can measure the piece that will go between the two. I can cut it on my saw and glue and nail that piece in place. On this job, I thought it would be easier just to cut the excess off instead of trying to cut the pieces and line them up. Which means I can move on to marking my final piece, cutting it, gluing it, and nailing it in place. So the 2 reasons I use so many brad nails is so that way I could keep working with the piece, but also because I knew I was going to immediately sand it. And that's going to be a lot of vibrations and a lot of stress on all those joints. So having excess brad nails will hold it together while I sand it. Well, I probably should have checked this before I cut my pieces, but it looks like the edging is going to block some of the sound waves from the speakers. So I will cut about 1/4 inch off all the sides and give it another check. It's a little better. I could probably go a little bit lower if I wanted to. And I will adjust it so I'm taking off another 1/4 inch. I didn't bother to check it a second time. I just went straight to sanding. You can see the speakers aren't going to be blocked. Still works just fine. Now it's time to figure out how we're going to mount this to the camera stand. And I think the first thing to do would be to find the center of the bottom. And I'll do that using a piece of scrap wood. Then using the threads on the camera stand, I'll find a drill bit a little bit smaller and drill a hole through my 3/4 inch sandy ply base. I'll sand the drill bit hole on both sides to clean up any wood splinters. The reason why it was important to drill the hole smaller than the threads on the camera stand is so that I could just screw the camera stand straight into the wooden base. And with any luck, there'll be enough friction that will hold it securely in place and I won't have to do any other kind of mounting for it. Well, it's a moment of truth. Will the screw hold the wood in place while the speaker and the phone are on it? If so, that means we can move on to painting. Well, there you go, winner, winner, chicken dinner. I'm back to that gloss black oil-based Rust-Oleum paint, and I'll get 2 coats on this before I'm finished. Well, there's the finished product, and I think it turned out pretty good. I can easily put the speaker and the phone on the top and set it up so I can play. I can easily take this and move it around to wherever I'm at and have the music where I like it. And if I don't find this stand sturdy enough, because it is the cheapest of cheap stands, I've got some options. I can easily unscrew the wooden plate that I made and attach it to another one so that I can use it on a stand that's a lot more durable with a lot better base. Well, there you go. That was a quick project, and now I've got my phone and music wherever I'm at in the yard. Well, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, check out my playlist, and I'll see you in that next video.